The pristine halls of the Galactic Academy's archive section stretched endlessly before Zixtal as she organized ancient data crystals. Her crystalline appendages clicked softly against the storage units, their luminescent glow reflecting off the polished surfaces. The young luminar had spent 3 cycles in this section, fulfilling her senior thesis requirements, but today felt different. The storage unit she examined contained military records from the golden era of expansion. Most students found these records tedious, filled with standard patrol logs and resource allocation data. However, her attention focused on an anomaly. A data crystal that emitted a subtle, pulsing energy signature unlike anything she had encountered before. Her natural bioluminescence dimmed with concentration as she carefully extracted the crystal. Its surface bore markings in Old Galactic, suggesting it predated the current standardized dating system. Before she could examine it further, a gentle humming approached from behind. "Zix, your energy patterns are fluctuating. Have you found something interesting?" Miri, her resonant classmate, floated closer. The gaseous being's translucent form swirled with curious patterns. "I'm not certain," Zixtal responded, her crystals chiming softly. "This data storage device bears classification marks I've never encountered in the academic section." A heavy tread announced their third study partner. Vaughn, a graviton student, moved with characteristic precision despite his massive stone-like form. "Those markings," he rumbled, points of light dancing across his mineral surface. "They match the restricted section protocols." Miri condensed herself to examine the crystal more closely. The energy signature is unusual. It's almost as if it's been designed to resist standard scanning methods. The 3 students gathered around a private analysis station, their diverse forms reflecting their species' evolutionary paths. Zixtal interfaced with the crystal using her natural abilities, while Miri's gaseous form allowed her to detect subtle energy variations, and Vaughn's gravitational senses revealed hidden data structures. "This is strange," Miri whispered, her form rippling with excitement. "The security coding suggests this contains military intelligence of the highest classification. But why would it be in the academic section?" Vaughn's surface glittered with calculation patterns. Perhaps it was misfiled, or deliberately hidden. As Zixtal carefully probed the crystal's surface layers, a holographic warning materialized. "Access restricted. Sol containment protocol. Authorization level Omega required." "Sol." Miri expanded slightly in recognition. "Isn't that the quarantine sector in the outer spiral arm?" "The exclusion zone," Vaughn confirmed, his crystalline structure dimming slightly. "No commercial or academic vessels are permitted within 50 light-years of its boundaries." Zixtal's excitement grew as she decoded the first layer of data. "There's information about a species called humans. According to this, they had barely achieved spaceflight when the Alliance first encountered them. A primitive species warranting such high security." Miri swirled skeptically. "That doesn't align with standard protocols." The crystal projected fragments of information as they worked. Classification reports, threat assessments, and diplomatic records. Each piece suggested something unusual about these humans, but the most intriguing detail was a recurring warning. Omega-level containment required. "This makes no sense," Vaughn observed, gravitational sensors detecting deeper data structures. "The technological assessment classifies them as a pre-spacefaring civilization, yet they're designated as an Omega-level threat. That classification is reserved for species capable of threatening galactic stability." Zixtal's crystals resonated with growing curiosity. There's more encrypted data deeper in the crystal. But accessing it would technically violate academic regulations. The 3 students exchanged glances, each considering the implications. Their position as senior researchers gave them significant access privileges, but this clearly exceeded standard academic boundaries. "Perhaps we should return it to the restricted archives," Miri suggested, though her energy patterns betrayed her curiosity. "Or," Vaughn countered, "we could consider this an extension of our thesis research on historical military developments." Zixtal's crystals pulsed with decision. The Academy Charter encourages the pursuit of knowledge. We have the skills to access this data safely, and understanding historical threats could benefit current security protocols. As they began the careful process of bypassing the crystal's security measures, none of them realized they were about to uncover information that would challenge everything they understood about galactic military history and the true nature of species advancement. The data crystal pulsed with increasing intensity as Miri's gaseous form enveloped it, her natural resonance patterns seeking weaknesses in the security lattice. The private research chamber hummed with concentrated energy as the three students worked in harmony, each applying their unique abilities to unlock the crystal's secrets. The encryption is adapting, Zixtal observed, her crystalline appendages creating intricate patterns of light as she interfaced with the device. It's almost as if it was designed to resist multiple species' attempts at access. Vaughn manipulated gravity fields with precise control, stabilizing the crystal's quantum structure. The technology is old, but the security principles are remarkably sophisticated. This predates the Unified Archive Protocol by at least 300 cycles. A sudden burst of light signaled a breakthrough as Miri's consciousness found a path through the crystal's defenses. "There's something unusual about the data structure," she whispered, her form rippling with excitement. "It's not just encrypted, it's deliberately fragmented." The first readable files materialized in their holoprojector. Official documentation of humanity's first contact with the Galactic Alliance. The timestamp made all three students pause, exactly 200 years ago, by standard measurement. "Look at their technological level," Vaughn rumbled, his mineral surface glittering with interest. Primitive chemical rockets, no faster than light capability, limited orbital installations. By all standard metrics, they should have been classified as a pre-contact species. The records showed more: initial diplomatic meetings, cultural exchange attempts, and technological assessments. But something felt wrong about the documentation. Too many sections were heavily redacted. Too many references led to classified addendums. Miri expanded her form to better process the information flow. Their development trajectory is unusual. Most species focus on theoretical advancement before practical application. These humans, they built things first and understood them later. "That shouldn't be possible," Zixtal chimed, her crystals resonating with confusion. "The Alliance's developmental models are based on thousands of species' histories. There's a natural progression of technological advancement." More data streams emerged as they dug deeper. They found reference after reference to a region of space, now known as the Sol exclusion zone, a vast sphere of quarantine systems centered on the human homeworld. Vaughn's gravitational sensors detected a sealed portion of the crystal. "There's more here." Something about an incident that led to the quarantine. Working together, they bypassed another layer of security. The new files contained diplomatic reports from the early contact period. The Alliance had initially welcomed humanity with standard protocols, offering limited technological exchange and cultural integration programs. "This doesn't make sense," Miri observed, her form condensing with concentration. The reports show humans eagerly participating in cultural exchange, showing particular interest in historical military archives. But there's no indication of hostility or technological theft. Zixtal interfaced with a particularly well-protected file cluster. "Here's something: an emergency session of the Alliance Security Council. The topic is listed as Human Response Analysis, concerning patterns in adaptation rates." The students exchanged glances as more pieces of the puzzle emerged. The humans had been given access to basic Alliance technology as part of standard diplomatic protocol. But their response to this technology defied all predicted models. "They weren't just learning to use our technology," Vaughn noted, his crystalline surface dimming with realization. "They were improving it, not through advanced science, but through creative application." A classified observation from a senior Alliance diplomat appeared in the projection. "Their questions concern me. They don't ask how our technologies work. They ask why we use them the way we do." They see possibilities where we see established protocols. As the three students processed this revelation, a final security seal in the crystal began to crack. Beyond it lay the true reason for humanity's containment, the incident that had transformed a seemingly primitive species into an Omega-level threat. Mary's form pulsed with anticipation. Should we proceed? This level of classified information. We've come too far to stop now, Zixtal responded, her crystals glowing with determination. Whatever happened, it was significant enough to quarantine an entire species. None of them realized that they were about to uncover a truth that would challenge their understanding of not just humanity, but the very nature of species advancement and the true meaning of technological superiority. The holographic display filled their private research chamber with an eerie glow as footage from the first diplomatic incident between humanity and the Alliance played out before them. The three students watched intently as events unfolded around a disputed mining moon in the Proxima system. This seems like a standard resource dispute, Mary observed, her gaseous form swirling thoughtfully. The Alliance peacekeeping force followed standard first contact protocols, a show of technological superiority to encourage diplomatic resolution. The footage showed Alliance vessels deploying around the moon, their advanced shields and weapon systems clearly visible. The human mining vessels, in comparison, looked primitive, barely more than pressurized containers with basic propulsion systems. Wait, Vaughn rumbled, his mineral surface flickering with interest. Look at how the human ships are positioning themselves. The students watched as the seemingly chaotic movement of human vessels revealed itself to be an intricate pattern. Rather than retreating from the superior Alliance forces, they were spreading out in a formation that made no tactical sense. Until it did. Zixtal's crystals pulsed with sudden understanding. They're using the moon's mineral deposits to scatter our sensor readings. Basic geology turned into a tactical advantage. The footage continued, showing Alliance peacekeepers attempting to disable the human vessels with standard electromagnetic pulses. It should have been effective against their primitive systems. Instead, the humans had wrapped their ships in the very mining cables they used for resource extraction, creating crude but effective electromagnetic shielding. This doesn't follow any known combat doctrine, Miri noted, condensing herself in concentration. They're adapting their mining equipment into defensive systems in real time. A new file opened automatically, showing an urgent report from the peacekeeping commander. Human vessels are displaying unprecedented tactical flexibility. Request immediate protocol update. Current containment methods proving ineffective against improvised solutions. The students watched as the situation evolved. Human miners were using their cargo holds as makeshift acceleration chambers, launching processed ore with devastating kinetic impact. Mining lasers, designed for precision cutting, were reflected off carefully positioned debris fields to create unpredictable attack vectors. Look at their communication patterns, Vaughn pointed out. They're sharing successful tactics almost instantly across their fleet. Each effective improvisation is immediately adopted and improved upon by other vessels. Zixtal interfaced with the next data cluster, revealing internal Alliance analysis. Human combat innovation appears unrestricted by conventional tactical doctrine. They demonstrate no adherence to established principles of space warfare. Every failed attempt seems to inspire multiple new approaches. The footage showed the Alliance peacekeepers retreating to regroup, something unprecedented in a first-contact resource dispute. The human miners had effectively held their ground using nothing but repurposed industrial equipment. There's a psychological analysis attached, Miri announced, extending tendrils of her form to access the file. It suggests the humans displayed signs of excitement during the encounter. They were treating it as a challenge rather than a threat. The final report from the incident carried a warning that made all three students pause. Caution. Human adaptability exceeds all known parameters. Their technological limitations appear to enhance rather than restrict their combat effectiveness. Standard peacekeeping protocols may be counterproductive. I don't understand, Zixtal chimed softly. How could technological inferiority be an advantage? Vaughn's crystalline surface rippled with realization. Because they never learned to rely on advanced technology. Every solution had to come from creativity and adaptation. A classified addendum appeared, marked with the highest security rating. Most concerning is the observed human response to failure. Each unsuccessful tactic is treated as valuable data, leading to rapid development of new approaches. Standard combat algorithms cannot predict variations at this pace. The students sat in stunned silence as the implications became clear. The Alliance's superior technology had actually worked against them, creating predictable patterns that humans could analyze and counter with startling speed. "There's more," Miri whispered, her form undulating with nervous energy. The next files show how the Alliance escalated their response, and how the humans escalated right back. As they prepared to access the next section of data, each student realized they were witnessing something unprecedented in galactic history. The moment when the Alliance first understood that technological superiority might not be the advantage they had always assumed it to be. The next cluster of data crystals revealed a disturbing pattern of escalation. The three students watched as Alliance military analysts documented the rapidly evolving human response to each new containment measure. The Alliance deployed Class 3 energy shields during the second encounter, Zixtal noted, her crystalline form dimming with disbelief. Standard protocol for advanced spacefaring civilizations, not a species that had just achieved basic spaceflight. The holographic display showed human vessels scattering before the superior Alliance technology. But something was wrong with their retreat pattern. Miri's gaseous form rippled with sudden understanding. They're not retreating. They're gathering data. Look at their sensor emissions. Each ship is scanning the shields from a different angle, measuring response times, finding resonance patterns. The footage jumped forward 12 hours. The human ships returned, their hulls now covered with hastily assembled arrays of mining resonators. The crude devices matched the frequency of Alliance shields, creating localized weaknesses that shouldn't have been possible with their level of technology. 3 days, Vaughn rumbled, his mineral surface flickering with amazement. It took them just 3 days to develop a countermeasure that most species would need years to understand theoretically. A new report materialized. Human adaptation rate exceeds predictive models. Traditional technological superiority appears ineffective as deterrent. Request immediate protocol revision. The students watched as the Alliance escalated further, deploying automated defense platforms with advanced targeting systems. The humans responded by creating electronic noise using modified communication buoys, confusing the targeting algorithms with false signals. They're not just adapting, Zixtal observed, her crystals pulsing rapidly. They're sharing information across their entire fleet. Every successful tactic is immediately transmitted and improved upon. The footage showed human ships working in groups, each vessel specializing in a different role despite their identical construction. Cargo haulers became improvised shield generators. Mining drones were reprogrammed into electronic warfare platforms. Maintenance shuttles transformed into agile interceptors. Miri expanded her form to better process the tactical data. The Alliance's superior technology actually became a liability. The more advanced the system, the more predictable its responses. The humans exploited that predictability. A classified analysis appeared, marked with multiple security warnings. Human tactical innovation appears to accelerate under pressure. Each deployment of advanced technology provides them with new systems to analyze and counter. Paradoxically, their technological limitations force creative solutions that our combat doctrines cannot effectively predict. Vaughn's crystalline surface rippled with concern as he accessed the next data stream. The Alliance began withdrawing their most advanced ships from the containment effort. They realized that each engagement was teaching humans too much about Alliance technology. The footage showed the results of this decision. Simpler Alliance vessels engaged the humans, relying on basic weapons and tactics. But the humans had already learned too much. They had started combining different countermeasures, creating hybrid systems that defied conventional military doctrine. Look at these efficiency ratings. Zixtal chimed softly. Human crews are operating modified equipment far beyond its designed capabilities. They're pushing everything to its absolute limit, finding advantages in system failures that our engineers would never consider. A new security advisory flashed across their display. Warning: human combat techniques spreading beyond their fleet. 3 independent species reported using modified human tactics in recent conflicts. Containment breach possible through tactical contamination. Miri condensed herself anxiously. The Alliance wasn't just worried about human technology anymore. They were concerned about human ideas spreading throughout the galaxy. The final report in this section carried the highest security classification they had seen yet. Human pattern recognition and adaptation capabilities represent unprecedented threat to galactic stability. Their ability to weaponize inferior technology renders traditional containment methods obsolete. Recommend immediate implementation of total quarantine protocols. There's something else, Vaughn noted, his sensors detecting the hidden data pocket. A sealed file about an incident that forced the Alliance to implement the Sol containment protocol. The 3 students exchanged glances, knowing they were about to discover the event that had transformed humanity from a curious anomaly into a species too dangerous to allow into the wider galaxy. The next data crystal pulsed ominously, waiting to reveal its secrets. The sealed records revealed a startling shift in human behavior that even the Alliance's most sophisticated behavioral analysis systems failed to predict. The 3 students watched in fascination as the footage showed human crews gathering after each engagement, not to lick their wounds, but to share discoveries. Look at their body language, Miri observed, her gaseous form swirling with interest. They're not displaying stress or fear. They're excited. The translation matrix suggests they're treating each encounter like a puzzle. The holographic display showed groups of humans gathered around makeshift tactical displays, using hand gestures and crude models to demonstrate successful maneuvers. Their faces showed expressions that the Alliance psychological profile identified as enthusiasm and intellectual engagement. They created informal networks to share combat solutions, Zixtal noted, her crystals pulsing with amazement. Every ship that survived an encounter immediately transmitted their successful tactics to the entire fleet. Not just the technical details, they shared the underlying principles. The footage jumped between different human vessels, showing crews implementing improvements in real time. A successful shield modification discovered by one ship would be adapted and enhanced by another within hours. Failed attempts were analyzed with the same enthusiasm as successes. Vaughn's mineral surface flickered as he processed the tactical data. Their learning curve is exponential. Each engagement, whether won or lost, increased their overall combat effectiveness by factors that violated all known models of military development. A classified report materialized. Human crews demonstrate unprecedented problem-solving capability under combat conditions. Standard engagement protocols becoming ineffective at an accelerating rate. Multiple ships now capable of neutralizing Alliance technical advantages through improvised solutions. The students watched as human vessels began to coordinate in ways that defied conventional military doctrine. Ships deliberately exposed themselves to new Alliance weapons, sacrificing shield strength to gather data on energy signatures and deployment patterns. They're treating Alliance technology like a teaching tool, Miri whispered, her form condensing with realization. Every new weapon we deploy becomes a catalyst for their innovation. The footage showed human crews celebrating after successfully countering an Alliance targeting system, their reactions puzzling the military observers. The humans were treating each breakthrough like a scientific discovery rather than a military victory. Zixtal interfaced with a particularly well-protected file. The Alliance psychological assessment notes that humans appear to derive satisfaction from solving complex problems under pressure. Combat situations actually enhance their creative thinking rather than inhibiting it. A new series of images displayed human ships incorporating salvaged Alliance technology in ways that the original engineers had never intended. They weren't just copying the technology, they were reimagining its fundamental principles. This defies all known patterns of technological advancement. Vaughn rumbled, his crystalline surface dimming with concern. They're not building on established principles. They're creating entirely new approaches based on partial understanding and intuitive leaps. The final section of footage showed a human vessel using a modified mining beam to redirect an Alliance energy weapon back at its source. The accompanying analysis was marked with multiple priority warnings. Human crews now displaying ability to weaponize Alliance defensive systems against themselves. Standard tactical responses becoming actively dangerous to deployment forces. Miri expanded anxiously as she processed the implications. The Alliance wasn't losing a technological war. They were accidentally teaching humans how to fight in ways no other species had ever considered. A high-level strategic assessment appeared. Critical concern. Human combat innovation appears to be recreational rather than desperate. Multiple instances of crews expressing enjoyment during tactical development. Traditional deterrence through superior force may be counterproductive. The students sat in stunned silence as they realized the true nature of the threat. The humans weren't just learning to fight. They were discovering new principles of warfare through pure creativity and enthusiasm for problem-solving. There's more. Zixtal chimed softly, her crystals detecting another sealed section. Something about a human vessel that did something the Alliance had calculated to be mathematically impossible. As they prepared to access the next data crystal, each student understood that they were about to discover why a species that treated combat like an intellectual exercise had to be quarantined from the rest of the galaxy. The next data crystal activated with a warning pulse, its security protocols far more sophisticated than previous sections. The footage began with a routine trade inspection at the edge of Alliance space, but what happened next made the three students question everything they knew about combat dynamics. "That can't be right," Miri whispered, her gaseous form condensing with shock. The human trade vessel's energy signature just changed completely. Mid-flight, the holographic display showed a seemingly harmless merchant ship transforming its cargo handling systems into weapon platforms in seconds. Storage compartments opened to reveal pre-positioned shield generators. Navigation arrays realigned into electronic warfare systems. Zixtal's crystals dimmed with realization. They weren't just building weapons. They were designing ships that could switch between civilian and combat configurations instantly. The Alliance protocols never considered that possibility. The footage continued, showing Alliance tactical computers failing to establish target locks. The human vessel's constant reconfiguration made it impossible for prediction algorithms to identify critical systems or anticipate movement patterns. The Alliance combat computers were programmed with every known ship configuration. Vaughn rumbled, his mineral surface flickering rapidly. But the humans weren't using any known configuration. They were creating new ones in real time. A classified tactical analysis materialized. Human vessels now demonstrating ability to modify core systems during active combat. Traditional target prediction models rendered ineffective. Ship classification protocols no longer reliable. The students watched as the human ship transmitted its tactical innovations to nearby vessels from other species. Within hours, 3 different alien trading ships had modified their systems to mirror the human approach. They weren't just developing new tactics, Miri observed, her form swirling with concern. They were teaching them to anyone who would listen. The Alliance's entire system of technological superiority was being undermined by simple, reproducible innovations. The footage jumped to another incident, showing the small fleet of human exploration vessels encountering an Alliance patrol. Instead of fleeing or surrendering, the humans began coordinating in patterns that made no sense, until they did. Zixtal interfaced with the tactical data. They're using their ship's communication arrays to create interference patterns. The overlapping signals are forming virtual shield bubbles that shouldn't be possible with their level of technology. A priority alert from Alliance Command appeared. Warning: human tactical innovations spreading beyond containment zone. Multiple non-human vessels observed utilizing modified human combat techniques, traditional technological advantages becoming increasingly neutralized. The display showed more examples of human ships teaching their methods to other species. Basic cargo haulers learned to use their gravitational stabilizers as makeshift weapon systems. Civilian vessels adapted their life support systems into electronic countermeasures. The Alliance's greatest fear was being realized, Vaughn noted, his crystalline structure pulsing with understanding. Humans weren't just developing countermeasures, they were creating an entirely new approach to space combat that any species could learn. A high-level security assessment flashed across their view. Critical threat analysis. Human capacity for tactical innovation represents fundamental challenge to established military doctrine. Their methods require minimal technological advancement, making proliferation impossible to prevent through traditional means. The final segment showed a gathering of Alliance military leaders, their expressions grave as they reviewed combat data. The humans had accomplished something unprecedented. They had made technological superiority a potential liability. "There's something else," Miri whispered, detecting a hidden data stream. A sealed record about a human commander who did something that changed everything. Zixtal's crystals resonated with anticipation, the incident that led to the containment protocol. It must have been more than just tactical innovation. The next data crystal pulsed with an energy signature that suggested the highest level of classification they had encountered. Whatever this human commander had done, it had frightened the Alliance enough to quarantine an entire species. "Should we proceed?" Vaughn asked, his surface dimming with concern. "This level of classified information. We need to know," Zixtal chimed firmly. "We need to understand why the Alliance was willing to sacrifice all potential benefits of human innovation to keep them contained." As they prepared to breach the final security layer, none of them realized they were about to discover an incident that would challenge their understanding of not just warfare, but the very nature of possibility itself. The highest security clearance data crystal activated, bathing the research chamber in a deep crimson glow. The three students watched as the sealed records revealed the incident that changed the Alliance's understanding of human potential forever. "This is different," Miri observed, her gaseous form contracting with tension. The encryption level suggests this was classified beyond normal military protocols. Someone wanted this buried deeply. The footage began with a standard Alliance battle group pursuing a small human exploration fleet. The humans had ventured too close to a restricted research facility, triggering automated defense protocols. What should have been a routine interception became something else entirely. "The human commander's name is redacted," Zixtal noted, her crystals pulsing with intrigue. "But look at their ship's configuration. They're flying a captured Alliance dreadnought. They somehow managed to bypass our most sophisticated control systems." The display showed the human fleet scattering in what appeared to be panic, but Vaughn's gravitational senses detected a pattern in their movement. They're not retreating. They're creating a gravitational lens using their ship's mass distribution. The students watched in amazement as the human vessels positioned themselves with mathematical precision. Each ship's gravity field combined with the others, creating a complex web of gravitational distortions. "Impossible," Miri whispered, her form rippling with disbelief. "They're using the captured dreadnought's mass drivers to amplify the gravitational effect. The Alliance tactical computers are showing a 0% survival probability for this maneuver." The footage continued as the human commander executed what the Alliance had deemed mathematically impossible. The combined gravitational fields created a momentary space-time distortion, allowing the entire human fleet to seemingly phase through the Alliance blockade. Zixtal interfaced with the tactical analysis. Human commander demonstrated understanding of complex gravitational mechanics without access to underlying theoretical framework. Achieved practical application of concepts our scientists considered purely theoretical. "Look at the Alliance response," Vaughn rumbled, his mineral surface flickering rapidly. Every combat computer in the battle group crashed simultaneously. They couldn't process a successful outcome to an equation they had calculated as impossible. A high-priority security assessment materialized. Critical warning. Human tactical innovation has exceeded theoretical limitations. They are now capable of executing successful strategies that our most advanced systems classify as non-viable. Traditional combat logic no longer reliable. The students watched as the incident report continued. The human fleet had not only escaped, but had also transmitted detailed instructions about their maneuver to every nearby vessel, Alliance or otherwise. The impossible had become reproducible. The Alliance's entire tactical doctrine was based on mathematical certainty, Mary noted, her form swirling anxiously. But the humans proved that impossible things could happen if you simply didn't know they were impossible. The final analysis appeared, marked with the highest security classification. Human capability to achieve theoretical impossibilities represents existential threat to Alliance tactical superiority. Their ignorance of established limitations allows for innovations that bypass core assumptions of modern combat doctrine. Zixtal's crystals dimmed as she processed a particularly disturbing detail. The human commander left a message for the Alliance fleet. The translation reads, "Thank you for the interesting challenge. We look forward to learning more." They weren't just fighting, Vaughn observed, his crystalline structure pulsing with realization. They were conducting practical experiments in theoretical physics without even realizing it. Every engagement was teaching them principles our scientists took centuries to understand. A final warning flashed across their display. Implementation of Sol containment protocol now critical. Human combat innovation must be contained before they achieve full understanding of principles they are inadvertently discovering. Current probability models suggest exponential growth in tactical capabilities if left unchecked. "There's one more section," Miri whispered, detecting the hidden data packet, the actual containment protocol itself. The students exchanged glances, knowing they were about to discover the true reason why humanity had to be separated from the wider galaxy. It wasn't just about their combat capabilities, it was about what those capabilities revealed about the nature of possibility itself. As they prepared to access the final data crystal, each of them understood that they were about to learn why a species that could make the impossible possible had to be contained, not just for the safety of the Alliance, but for their own protection as well. The final data crystal activated, revealing the complete Sol containment protocol. The three students sat in stunned silence as they realized the true purpose behind humanity's isolation from the wider galaxy. "This isn't just a quarantine," Miri whispered, her gaseous form rippling with understanding. The Alliance wasn't containing humans to protect themselves. They were trying to protect humanity from what they were becoming. The display showed detailed analysis of human neural patterns during combat situations. Each engagement had been reshaping their thought processes, optimizing their brains for tactical innovation at the expense of other forms of development. "Look at the projected development curves," Zixtal chimed softly, her crystals pulsing with concern. The Alliance calculated that continued exposure to advanced technology would lock humanity into a singular evolutionary path, one focused entirely on martial advancement. Vaughn's mineral surface flickered as he processed the data. Every victory, every successful innovation was reinforcing their combat-oriented thinking. They were becoming too good at warfare, losing the diversity that made them unique. The footage showed human children instinctively approaching problems from a tactical perspective, treating every challenge as a potential combat scenario. Their natural creativity was being channeled into a dangerously narrow focus. "The Alliance made a difficult choice," Miri observed, condensing thoughtfully. They realized that humanity's greatest strength could become their greatest weakness. By excelling at warfare, they were risking their own cultural development. A classified psychological assessment appeared. Human potential extends far beyond combat innovation. Their creative approach to problem-solving, if properly directed, could revolutionize countless peaceful fields of study. Current trajectory risks losing these possibilities to pure military development. The students watched as the Alliance Council debated the containment protocol. The decision had not been unanimous, but the evidence was compelling. Humanity needed time to develop without the constant pressure of military advancement. Zixtal interfaced with the Council's final declaration. The Sol Containment Protocol is hereby established not as a punishment, but as a preservation measure. Humanity must be given space to grow beyond the patterns we have inadvertently encouraged. The quarantine works both ways, Vaughn noted, his crystalline structure pulsing with realization. It prevents humanity from accessing advanced technology, but it also prevents other species from seeking human military innovation. The protocol detailed the establishment of the Sol Exclusion Zone, a vast region of space centered on Earth. No advanced technology would be allowed within its boundaries, giving humanity a chance to develop along their own path. "There's more," Mary whispered, detecting a hidden addendum. The Alliance left monitoring stations throughout the zone. They're watching, waiting to see if humanity can break free from the tactical mindset they helped create. The final section of the protocol revealed a hope for the future, a time when humanity might be ready to rejoin the galactic community, not as warriors, but as innovators in all fields of endeavor. Zixtal's crystals brightened as she accessed the last data packet. The Alliance included an option for ending the containment. If humanity demonstrates significant advancement in non-military fields, the protocol can be lifted. "We have to make a decision," Vaughn rumbled, his surface dimming seriously. "What do we do with this knowledge?" The three students contemplated their options. They could reveal the truth, potentially sparking debate about ending the containment. Or they could understand the wisdom in the Alliance's choice, preserving humanity's chance for balanced development. Miri expanded thoughtfully. Perhaps the protocol itself is a perfect example of tactical innovation, solving a problem by choosing not to engage with it directly. The Alliance showed wisdom. Zixtal chimed softly. They recognized that humanity's greatest battle wasn't against external forces, but against the loss of their own potential. Together, they composed their own addition to the archived records. The species that treats every challenge as a battle must be given time to remember that not every challenge is meant to be fought. The Sol Containment Protocol remains necessary not because humanity is too dangerous to the galaxy, but because they are too valuable to lose to the singular path of warfare. As they sealed their findings back into the crystal, each student understood that sometimes the greatest victory comes not from winning a conflict, but from choosing to step away from it entirely. Humanity would find its own path, in its own time, and perhaps one day return to the stars with all their remarkable potential intact.